It is once again game day here in Dallas, Texas. The Stars have a big game coming up tonight after a demoralizing loss to the Vegas Golden Knights on Wednesday. Today we have the Ottawa Senators and the Dallas Stars clashing in a head-to-head battle. And on today's episode, I'll give you everything that you need to know about the big matchup. On today's episode of Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis. It is Friday, October 29th, another game day edition of the Locked On Stars podcast. I'm very excited. I'll once again be at tonight's game. It's going to be really exciting, probably a more full arena than what we saw on Wednesday, even though Wednesday's crowd was very energetic. I'm imagining we'll see something similar to what we saw last Friday versus Los Angeles, and I'm very, very excited to be at the game amongst the Stars fans cheering our team on to what will hopefully be a victory. But before we jump into all the excitement on today's episode, I want to say thank you for stopping by, whether this is your first time listening to Locked On Stars or you are a recurring listener. I want to personally thank you for listening to today's show because it truly means a lot to me. Thank you for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts at. Be sure to leave a review if you really like what you hear. That helps me out a ton. Be sure to also subscribe on YouTube, as you can now get the show on YouTube. You can get a visual version of the show. So be sure to subscribe there. We're very close to 50 subscribers, which isn't a lot in the YouTube world, but it's huge to a podcast, and especially a podcast that just got onto YouTube about 2 or 3 weeks ago, making huge progress there. So that's a testament to you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. Truly means the world to me. I love getting to do this every single day, getting to cover the Dallas Stars and bring you guys Dallas Stars news, updates, insight, what have you. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I feel like I say it all the time, but also I don't say it quite enough for all the support that you guys give me for tuning in every single day. So thank you for that. But without further ado, let's jump into the preview for tonight's game. Tonight's game against a familiar foe as far as teams that the Dallas Stars have played this season. They're matching up once again with the Ottawa Senators. Dallas saw this same Senators team about 2 weeks ago at the Canadian Tire Center in the capital of Canada, and they will play them for the final time this season tonight in Dallas, with both teams, being from different conferences, the West Conference for Dallas and then the Eastern Conference for the Ottawa Senators. You play each other twice every season. You play a home-and-home series. Unless these two teams meet up in the Stanley Cup Finals, which I highly, highly doubt for multiple reasons, we're probably not seeing the Ottawa Senators again until next season. So this is our last chance to, finally show, that we can beat them because we did not beat them the first time that we played them. And it was quite disappointing, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But super exciting. Dallas looking to, go 1-1 against this Ottawa team tonight, to get a nice, even, one win, one loss against this team this season. Kind of checking in on the current state of the Ottawa Senators. I didn't get to do really a preview on them last time we played them because we played them on a Sunday. And of course, an episode did not come out on Sunday because this show is Monday through Friday. So I didn't get to do, a full preview. Got to recap the game, but did not get to preview the game. But currently, the Ottawa Senators sit at 7th in the Atlantic Division with 4 points. So 2 of their points came from beating the Dallas Stars. They also beat the Toronto Maple Leafs earlier this season, but they have not won a game since they beat Dallas 2 weeks ago. They've only played 3 games since then, all against pretty good competition. They took a 2-1 loss to the San Jose Sharks, a 3-2 loss to the New York Rangers, and a 7-5 loss to the Washington Capitals. A matchup of country capitals right there, with the Capitals playing in Washington, D.C., and the Senators playing in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. And as you can see, all these games were pretty close. Ottawa played pretty competitive, and like I said, some of these teams are really good. San Jose off to a really hot start this season that maybe many people did not anticipate. The New York Rangers having a really nice season after their Game 1 loss to the Dallas Stars. The Washington Capitals off to a really nice start this season. Alex Ovechkin up to his usual shenanigans, doing Alex Ovechkin things, putting the puck in the net, and helping his team win games. But, really impressive for a team like Ottawa, as youthful as they are, to be competing with some of these really, really talented teams. And some of these losses were pretty sad and pretty devastating for Ottawa. The game against New York, they did have a 2-0 lead over the Rangers, and then the Rangers came back and scored 3 unanswered goals to win the game 3-2. But then on the other side of that, Ottawa was down 4-1 to Washington at the end of the first period. But Ottawa clawed their way back in and ended up tying the game at 4 before eventually losing 7-5. So this team is truly a mixed bag. You never really know what you're going to get night in and night out from this team. It seems like they can really go toe-to-toe with just about anyone they play. But it's a matter of, can they win the games against some of the bigger and better competition of the NHL? And so far, really the answer to that has been no for the most part. Obviously, beating Dallas and Toronto, some teams that are, considered by many kind of mid-tier to maybe upper mid-tier teams at the moment. So truly a mixed bag are the Ottawa Senators. Of course, like I said, I didn't really get to preview this team, so I didn't really get to take a nice deep dive look at their roster. But this team, obviously, I knew, and I know many of you know, that they're kind of in the middle of a rebuild right now, looking to, kind of build things from the ground up and get back to being, really, I say get back to being, but get to being a really, really good hockey team representing the nation of Canada from the capital of the country. And this team is very, very young. They have a lot of youth on their roster, but a lot of really talented youth. You have guys like Drake Batherson, the team leader in points, who's 23. He notched his first NHL hat trick in their last game against the Washington Capitals earlier this season. You got Josh Norris, tied for second in points on the Ottawa Senators. Also, playing first-line center for the Senators right now at the age of 22, which is really, really impressive. That's huge for, any NHL team. But Josh Norris, another really talented guy. Thomas Chabot, a stud defenseman at the age of 24, really talented player. They have Tim Stützle. He's 19, not even 20 years old yet, but Stützle, another guy that the Ottawa Senators are very excited about, another guy who played a little bit last season and has already made an impact. I believe he has a point or two in this young season. Really young guy that has a lot of hockey left to play in his life, his career literally just beginning right now, but a guy that the Ottawa Senators like a lot. And kind of the cream of the crop, the biggest name on the team is Brady Kachuk. What many consider, according to some of the articles I was able to read on the Ottawa Senators, kind of the unofficial captain of the team, and he is 22 years old as well. He's the guy that the fans, the entire fan base up there in Ottawa, they completely adore this kid. His teammates really like him. The coaching staff really likes him. He did not play against Dallas in the game that they played in Ottawa, but I expect him to play in Dallas. So that'll be a guy that that the Stars are going to have to account for. And this team, they may not be a powerhouse in the NHL right now, but I think they're definitely building towards that, and they're building a very, very nice team. They have some nice veterans on the team as well. Yeah, guys like Nick Holden, Michael Del Zotto, Tyler Ennis, Connor Brown, guys that have been around several teams in the league, guys that, have kind of been journeymen and, they've seen a thing or two, similar to Luke Glendening and Michael Raffl for the Dallas Stars this season. And even guys like Ryan Suter, Joe Pavelski, guys that have been on other teams, that have been around the league, been in the league for a very long time. So there's a lot of, veteran expertise on this team, but also a lot of young, raw talent. So that makes Ottawa a fun team to watch. Not really fun when they're beating the Dallas Stars. So hopefully that's not the case tonight. But at the end of the day, this is a fun team that has a lot of energy, has a lot of experience on the team as well. And they've shown that they can go toe-to-toe with just about any team in the league. So Dallas will need to be prepared. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next segment, is how Dallas can come out prepared for this game versus Ottawa so they don't lose and go 0-2 against the Senators this season. But before we do all that, I want to say thank you to one of the sponsors of today's episode, and that is Built Bar. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There's something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorite flavors. If you don't know the Built Bar flavors, well, you're truly missing out. And here are the flavors that they offer. They have coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. And you may be thinking, that's a lot of flavors. I feel overwhelmed by the amount of flavor options that I have. But Built Bar can absolutely hook you up, and they can send you 2 of each of the 9 flavors when you make an order online. And you can request 2 flavors to be put in your box out of the 9 that they offer. Not only are Built Bars the best tasting bars on the market, but they're also good for you as well. They offer 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories that range from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. You can go to built.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Moving on to the next segment of today's episode of Locked On Stars, your first listen of the day. We're going to talk a little bit about what Dallas can do differently this time around when playing the Ottawa Senators, so that way they can turn that loss into a W, and more specifically, maybe a regulation W. Last time that these two teams met, it was not very pretty on Dallas's side of things. Anton Khudobin made his first start of the season as the number 2 goalie on this team right now, where he gave up 3 goals, 2 of them coming on the power play. Definitely not the best performance that we've seen from Anton Khudobin. I think his performance against Vegas was a lot better. Obviously, still not the result that the team wanted. But Anton Khudobin still, maybe working some things out. And still also trying to prove that he can be an elite goalie in this league despite him getting up there in age. Dallas did take an early 1-0 lead in this last game against the Ottawa Senators, but they couldn't even hold it for a minute. Ottawa evened up the score very quickly and just never looked back. So I do imagine Braden Holtby will get the start in net since Khudobin started on Wednesday. I think Braden Holtby was just getting some rest. Probably much needed rest after some of the stretches he's been playing, and he's been playing quite well for the most part. A few mishaps here and there, but overall, Braden Holtby has definitely proven why he's been worthy of being the number 1 goalie for the Dallas Stars so far this season. So I fully expect to see him in the net come game time tonight, and I'm very excited to watch how he plays against this team, and excited to see how he plays against the Ottawa Senators in front of this hometown crowd here in Dallas. For only the second time so far this season for him, because he did not play on Wednesday. Dallas will also have John Klingberg, Jason Robertson, and Blake Como in the lineup. Those were guys that they did not have on their road trip to start the season. So, of course, all 3 of those guys bring a new dynamic to this Stars team that maybe the Ottawa Senators were not prepared for, this first time around. And, of course, the Senators are bringing Brady Kachuk into their lineup as well, so Dallas will need to prepare for that and be ready for a guy that can explode offensively literally at any given moment in any kind of hockey game. The Dallas Stars, they've been in the process of improving the offense, kind of starting, from that opening road trip. That game against Boston kind of kickstarted everything of the offense is shaky. The offense still looks the same as it did last year where it struggled. The power play did not look very good. But this team, has slowly been tweaking things, and they've been improving just in their aggressiveness and the way that they play on offense overall. And so I expect that to be, a continued theme into this game tonight. I hope that we see a lot of what we saw on Wednesday when it comes to shots on goal, when it comes to forechecking. You can go back. If you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, I highly encourage you to do so. I talk a lot about some of the good things that Dallas did in their game despite the loss to Vegas, because there was a lot of good to take from that game. Another huge key to this game that Dallas did not do well in their game against Ottawa the first time that they have an opportunity to fix this time has to do with their penalty kill. We've been talking about their penalty kill all season, how it's been one of the best in the league, how they've been really solid and consistent with their penalty kills, being quick to shut the other teams down and not giving them good opportunities on their power plays. But the only exception to that was, the game against Ottawa earlier this season where they gave up 2 power play goals to the Senators. So hopefully we don't see that happen again on Friday night. Tonight, you can only hope so much. I truly do think that game in Ottawa was an exception rather than something that's going to become a regular, consistent thing. This penalty kill for the Dallas Stars has been great all season. I expect it to be one of the best in the league throughout the duration of the season because they have guys that are really experienced and really talented in killing penalties, especially guys like Luke Glendening, Michael Raffel, and even guys like Miro Heiskanen, John Klingberg. Guys that you want on the ice in those moments, and guys that can get the job done. So a penalty kill will definitely be a huge thing to watch for the Stars tonight, and to see how they respond after kind of getting embarrassed on that aspect of the game the last time that they played this team. And like I said earlier, another huge key to this game that Dallas can flip the script on from their first matchup against the Senators is the offensive effort and the offensive efficiency. They played so well Wednesday night. They played so well 2 nights ago. It was a shame that they only ended up with 2 points. I know I mentioned that. I think if they're able to replicate that and do that again, I think that there's no way that they end up with only two goals. I think they can end up with even more, because I think that they just got unlucky, and the goalie for the Vegas Golden Knights was just playing well at many stretches of the game. Especially with guys like Jason Robertson being back out there. Rupe Hintz had some fantastic looks on Wednesday. There's no reason why, if Dallas does what they did on Wednesday, that they can't find some more success on offense just based on the way that they played, because they're working too hard right now to not get that offensive success. Coming up next after another break, I'm going to talk about some predictions for the game and just talk about some other storylines going into this matchup against Ottawa. But before we do that, I want to take a moment and say thank you to another sponsor of today's episode, and that is BetOnline. BetOnline is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, postseason baseball, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. To close out today's episode of Locked On Stars, I want to take a quick moment, just run through some predictions and some storylines going into tonight's game. Big matchup against the Ottawa Senators that we've been talking about for the past several minutes. One thing to note, Jamie Benn did not participate in practice yesterday on Thursday, per Matthew DeFranks of the Dallas Morning News. Later in the day, Saad Yousuf of The Athletic, he writes for the Dallas Stars, and The Athletic writes about them, in The Athletic rather, reported that Jamie was taking a maintenance day, so nothing to really be concerned about there, just kind of taking a quick rest. He should be good to go for tonight's game. Really hope that Jamie Benn can, maybe find the net tonight, make an impact on this game. Would love to see the captain of this team truly get involved and make a huge impact on a game that is pretty much a must-win game for this Dallas Stars team. So really excited to see what Jamie Benn has in store for Dallas tonight. But overall, I like the Stars to win this game. I know that what I'm about to say is going to sound similar to what I said on Wednesday, but I believe it even more so, because I think that Dallas is truly a better team than the Ottawa Senators right now. I think they're a team that has a fire lit under them, especially after the events that transpired on Wednesday night. A game that they dominated and that they should have won, that they could have won, but they blew it. They shot themselves in the foot. They hurt themselves. I think they recognize that. I think that there's enough accountability in this team from the coaching staff to the players that they're going to fix those issues, and they're going to come out swinging tonight. I think Dallas is going to play probably the most determined game of hockey that they've played so far this season. And I really hope that that's true. I really hope that that is the case, because I think that that's what they want. It's just a matter of, can they, execute the game plan that Coach Bowness is going to lay out for them. A full Friday night weekend crowd is going to be at attendance for this game. I imagine we're going to get a similar environment, like I said earlier, to what we saw, last Friday versus the Los Angeles Kings. The building's going to be absolutely rocking. The Dallas Stars are going to be rocking the blackout unis. I know that there's mixed opinions on those, especially within my friend group. We talk about the Dallas Stars. Some people like the blackout jerseys. I personally like them a lot. I own one myself. I have a Jamie Benn blackout jersey that I really like. I really enjoy. And I'm very excited to see the Dallas Stars wear those uniforms in person. I did not get to go to a game last season where they wore those, so I'm excited to see those in the flesh, in person, watching it from my seat. Excited for the blackout unis. I love them, absolutely. Love to hear your thoughts on Twitter. I'll probably tweet out at some point your opinions. Share your jersey opinions with me about the Dallas Stars, because they have a great color scheme, and they've had some great jerseys in the past. They have some good ones now. But I digress. More important things to talk about concerning this game. Another exciting thing about this game is that we'll once again get to see the line of Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski, and Jason Robertson, a line that I think was starting to find its chemistry on Wednesday night, and I think that hopefully they'll really hit their stride tonight. Hopefully multiple of these guys on this line can find some success offensively, whether it's through assists or goals or both. I'm really excited to watch these three guys play together, because I think there's a lot of really good potential there on the offensive side of the ice. Overall for this game, as far as predictions goes, give me the Dallas Stars at a score of 5-2. Yes, 5-2. I know that that's ambitious. You're like, how can the Dallas Stars score 5 goals? I'm not entirely sure. I can't necessarily tell you how it's going to happen, but I truly believe that it can happen with the fire that this team should be playing with, looking to avenge their loss from Wednesday. Give me Jason Robertson with the first goal, notching his first goal of the NHL season as well. I haven't gotten a single first goal prediction right all season. I hope tonight that changes. I really hope Jason Robertson can get a goal tonight. That'd be really exciting for him, be really exciting for the crowd. I think it would, send a huge burst of energy into the crowd as well. And kind of another important thing to note as we wind down is this game is huge in general, just for the Dallas Stars' morale as far as points go, as far as standings in the Central Division and the Western Conference. But this is important even down to the smaller details, because Dallas is about to go on another road trip and a long road trip far away from home. They will be in Canada for their next 3 games after tonight. They'll be playing the Winnipeg Jets, the Calgary Flames, and the Vancouver Canucks in that order. And as I said yesterday on yesterday's episode, we're going to see what this team is made out of over the next few weeks, the Dallas Stars. We're going to see their true colors. We're going to see how they respond to adversity, and getting knocked down when maybe they shouldn't be getting knocked down. And they're, after this game, against a team that they should be a team that they are better than, they're going to play some teams that are, having some really good starts to the season. Some better than others, but all 3 of these teams, are pretty good to really good so far this season. Winnipeg is, of course, a huge game, because that's going to be Dallas's first taste of divisional action all season. And then Calgary probably off to the hottest start of the 3 teams I've named. I feel like that Dallas and Calgary always just provide really good, entertaining games. So that's going to be a ton of fun to watch. And even Vancouver, who's probably the worst, I'm doing air quotes for those of you listening to audio only, the worst of these 3 teams, they're still off to a pretty decent start this season. I believe they're 3-3-2, if I'm not mistaken. So not a bad team by any means, but not the greatest team that they're going to play on this road trip. And of course, it's always hard to get a win on the road in the NHL, especially far from home, the 3rd game of a road trip. Dallas is going to be really tested that night in Vancouver. I truly do think that. So it's going to be huge to see how they, do on that road trip. And I think it all starts with how they do tonight against the Ottawa Senators at home. They really need to build morale up. And as fans, that's, we can help them with that. We got to have these guys' backs no matter what. Whether this team is, winning games that, maybe they shouldn't be winning, and, winning the games they should, or whether they drop games and the Dallas Stars aren't always going to, make us happy. They're going to do things that, upset us or confuse us as fans and spectators of the team. And that's sports. That happens with any team. But that shouldn't matter. It's a long season. Alexander Radulov was saying that last night in his press conference. Anything can happen. It's so early in the season, and it's a long season. There's still so much hockey to be played. And if you're going to the game, let's support these guys. Let's get behind them and let them know that we have their backs as their fans. These guys play because they love the game, but they play also for this city. I know that these guys love to represent the city of Dallas and the state of Texas. That's kind of the theme this year. One state, one team. I really love that they're leaning into that and kind of taking on the mantra of representing the entire state of Texas. I know that there's a lot of pride that goes into playing in the NHL in general, but I think, the guys especially feel it here in Dallas because it's just such a huge sports city. Some of the biggest sports franchises in the entire world are in this city. The Dallas Stars maybe aren't one of those, but they still have a very passionate and big fan base. So we got to support these guys through the thick and thin at home games. And even when they're on the road, it's not always going to be easy, but that's sports, and it's fun to follow these teams along through the ups and downs, because by the time we get to the end of the season, we can look back and see, the journey that they had, and, maybe it'll end, in the best way possible with a nice, another championship run, and maybe it won't, but, we got to lock in, no pun intended, or pun intended, take what you want with that. Yeah, but we just got to lock in and watch these guys and see how they perform. We've seen it in the first 2 home games. The energy has been incredible, and I think the guys respond to that energy, and they play better with the hometown fans having their backs. And so I'm absolutely excited to see the energy in the building tonight. It's going to be a fantastic game, going to be a ton of fun to watch. But that is all we have for today's episode of the Locked On Stars podcast. Tune back in on Monday as we get you ready and geared up for another action-packed week of Dallas Stars hockey action. Thank you again for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Now go make your second listen of the day, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Scott Cullen. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Scott Cullen is the man to know for fantasy hockey. That man can absolutely help you win your league. He has so much insight and expertise from his years covering and analyzing hockey. He knows things that most fantasy hockey experts don't know. So go give Scott a listen. Again, that's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcast at, and it's absolutely free. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Tell your friends about the show. Leave a review if you like what you hear. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Dane_Lewis. That's at DANE_LEWIS. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Stars. Really do appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for tuning in to another week of Locked On Stars, and we will see you back here on Monday.